Okay, hi everybody and welcome tonight, I'm used to it being at night, but we actually have a morning installment in our How to Get Hired webinar series in preparation for our computer science and engineering fair tomorrow morning. But today we are joined by Lexy Aldape of NVIDIA, and she will be sharing her tips and tricks on getting hired in tech. Just a little bit of an overview of today's event. Lexy will be giving a presentation and we will follow up with a Q&A session. So as I already dropped in the chat before, you can submit questions for our presenter today. Just in the bottom center of your screen, there's a Q&A box. So yeah, if you see a question that you like, feel free to upvote it. And if there isn't a question that you want answered, feel free to drop it there. Just so that all of you guys know, this session will be recorded and uploaded to the Career Success Team's YouTube channel. And all students who pre-registered for this event will automatically be sent a link. So yeah, without further ado, I'll let Lexy take it away from here.
Perfect. Hi, everybody. Thanks for attending today. Let me get my slideshow up for you. Let's see here. Can you see my slideshow?
You're all good.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for attending. I'm so happy that I could be here this morning with you all. So this is the How to Get Hired in Engineering event. I have a slideshow that's going. It doesn't have any of the content that I'm going to walk through today, but it has a lot of great information about the different areas that we hire for, the upcoming inclusion day, and just some other good info for you guys to know. So feel free to take pictures, snapshots, all of that great stuff. I also, in the chat, I just put a link that you can go ahead and drop your information to me. So you can drop your resume, you can let me know what kind of roles you're interested in. If you do drop your information to me today, I will be following up with everybody that does so with registration link for Inclusion Day that is coming up on October 27th, as well as I will be following up with a link to apply directly to some roles as well. So make sure to do that. But my name is Lexy. I am a part of the NVIDIA University recruiting team. So I am mostly focused in D&I. So I focus on bringing in Black, African American, and Latinx talent into NVIDIA. So I focus on new college grad roles, internship, and our immersion program as well. So I do just want to highlight Inclusion Day that is coming up on October 27th. Really, really great way to learn more about NVIDIA, meet some of our leaders, learn about our diversity and inclusion initiatives, as well as actually land an interview with an engineer and start that interview process. So very much so a recruiting event and get to know more about NVIDIA. Some of the things that we are going to cover today are to how to position yourself and get involved, the application process and resume tips, and then the interview process and how to prep and really nail your interview. This is specifically towards NVIDIA, but I think that a lot of these tips can be used at any company. So we'll just get started with how to position yourself and get involved. So why is it so important that you get involved and start as early as possible? Your path into engineering is going to be a long and multi-pronged one. So what I mean by that is you might know that you want to get into engineering, or you might know you want to get into tech, but what do you actually want to do? That is the number one question. So there's so many paths within engineering and tech, and especially within NVIDIA, we have so many different business units, healthcare, robotics, machine learning, deep learning, it's endless, hardware, all of it, software, that it's really, really important that you start thinking about these questions as soon as possible. First and second years, you should be thinking about this right now to set yourself up for success. So some things that you can do to get involved and set yourself up for success. join student organizations. I think this is really underrated. I don't think many students do it enough. It's important to find your student orgs that can support you, whether that be a SHPE, a NSBE, a Women in Computer Science, any other engineering group. It doesn't have to be demographic related. So anything that's relevant to you and your goals. So I recommend when you first, come into school, there's a lot of works to choose from. So I always recommend to join all of them that interest you. Why I recommend to do this is because not all student orgs are made the same. So it might take some time to find the right student org that can really support you professionally. So some things to think about when joining a student org. It would be, what companies do they have partnerships with? What kinds of events are they hosting? Do they have any career development support or events for you? If you are hitting no at any or all of these questions, it's probably not the right organization for you in terms of helping you professionally or landing a role in engineering. And on another note, showing up for events that they put on and actually putting effort into them is huge. Mentally show up, physically show up, turn on your camera. If you haven't noticed on WebEx and Zoom, if you have your camera on, you'll automatically be bumped to the first page. If you speak, you usually get bumped to the top row. So a lot of visibility there. And it's just an overall really, really great professional practice that you should be starting now. Come with real questions. So not just, what roles do you have available and what is NVIDIA? When we do show up to events, we do expect that students kind of look us up and do their own research ahead of time. So you can definitely come with questions like, what skill sets do you look for hiring with this role, or what project experience do you typically look for for an intern to have on their resume, or how did you get started down this path? Those are really great questions to ask. And then also tailor your classes to your dream role or company. And I think this is super important to start as early as possible. Look at the different companies' websites, their recruiting pages, to see what roles you could eventually be applying for and be interested in. And look at what skill sets that they're looking for so that you can better tailor your classes to gaining experience in those areas. It really happens a lot that students get to their sophomore or junior year looking for an internship, and when they go to apply, they don't have the skill sets that are needed. And one way to work around that is to look in your freshman or sophomore year at the roles that you potentially want to interview for. So look at our intern page, look at the different roles. This is one of probably the biggest tips that students just don't get enough support on. So don't let that happen to you. If you are a first or second year freshman or sophomore, I know that a lot of internship programs you may not be eligible for. At NVIDIA, we typically don't allow first or second year students into our internship program because they just don't have the core classes yet to really benefit one of our teams and go on to our internship program. But what we do have is an immersion program, and it's targeted for first and second year students. I like to call it a mini internship program because it's really about you getting to see what NVIDIA is about, seeing our culture, seeing projects. And we're really looking for people that know they want to get into tech and engineering already, that they know they want to go down that path, and we want to help them get that experience. And the goal would be that you would eventually roll into the internship program after the immersion program. So the immersion program is 8 weeks long instead of the regular internship program, which is 12 weeks long. There is much more of kind of like a group and team dynamic because you are learning so much while you are here at NVIDIA. So definitely look for these kinds of programs at larger tech companies because they are there. They could be called apprentice programs, immersion programs, but look for these kind of programs if you are in your first and second year to gain experience so you can get that awesome internship once you're ready. And if you can't get into one of these programs to gain experience, look for any projects that you can collaborate on at your university. Look for any classes that can sharpen your knowledge and specific skill sets that we normally look for. There's definitely ways that you can still gain experience without actually having an internship. Another way to position yourself and get involved would definitely be to utilize LinkedIn. So follow your target companies, follow their university recruiting pages. A lot of the larger companies have kind of one-off LinkedIn pages that are their university recruiting pages. NVIDIA does have one. I recommend following all of them. It's really great information. Usually these larger corporations and teams are hosting their own events. They're sharing open roles, a lot of great content that they are going to share that's directed specifically for you. Another thing would be to follow university recruiters. I always tell students to connect with me on LinkedIn or follow me, just because of the amount of information that I share regarding our program, regarding our events, culture, success stories, roles, all of that great stuff. Also, on the note of LinkedIn, update your profile. It's super important. It's a professional network and recruiters utilize it. So have a professional picture, include your work experience, include your skills, your Java, your Python, any courses that you are taking that are relevant, include your student orgs, your awards, and definitely update your headline. So I think it's always super awesome and helpful as a recruiter if a headline says something like junior looking for a summer 2021 internship in deep learning or data science or software engineering. That's really helpful information for me because I can easily and better place you in front of a team that makes sense for you. So really helps me as a recruiter. And I think that everybody should have an updated LinkedIn. It really kind of is your virtual resume, and a lot of recruiters utilize it. Moving on to the application process and some resume tips for you all. So we'll go over some do's and don'ts of the application process and tailoring your resume and how I would set up my resume. So with setting up your resume, I'll just go kind of line by line about how I would set it up. So shouldn't be more than one page front and back, especially at your experience and your level. There's just no reason it should be over 2 pages. And even as you continue on in your professional career, it really shouldn't be more than 2 pages. List your full name and use your full name in all of the applications. So it matches up in our database so we don't have multiple profiles for you. It saves recruiters a lot of time and headache. And it's just a great tip to use one name for everything. And then include your LinkedIn or any websites or portfolios up top after your name, like any GitHubs, anything like that. We look at all of that and we include that when we send over your resume to be viewed by managers and highlight all of that stuff. So that's really great stuff to include in your resume. After that, a lot of students have questions about the objective line. So an objective line should really be no more than 2 sentences. And I think it's best when a candidate kind of uses that objective line as kind of their LinkedIn headline, right? So junior at UC Santa Cruz looking for a summer 2021 internship or new grad role in product management or ASICs or hardware. If you're unsure about what kind of role you want, I say skip it altogether. Don't worry about the objective line. You're not going to get dinged for not having one. So if you don't have something good to say, I would leave it out. Sorry, 1 second. I'm sorry if you could hear my dogs in the background. This virtual life, so sorry. And then after that, you would go ahead and list your technical skills. So your Javas, your C Sharp, your Python, and always list those in order from most experience to least experience. That's how most recruiters will read your resume. And it's just a good practice to do that. Sorry, my dogs keep fighting in the background. Next, we're going into your professional experience, and this is super, super important. You need to, in 3 to 4 lines for each of your roles, explain your project and what technical skills you use to achieve your goals. So I'm thinking of a bad resume in my head right now, and I'm going to share you what that is. I just received a resume the other day, and it said software engineer at Microsoft. And under it, it said, was a part of the virtual program at Microsoft. I have no idea what you did at that internship. And although Microsoft is a great company, that doesn't give you a one-way ticket into any other company. We have to understand what you were working on, what technical skills you used, and what the outcome was. I need to know what you did so I can better place you with a team at NVIDIA. And it's super important because, like I said, at NVIDIA, there's so many different paths, there's so many different teams in areas that you can go into, that we really just need help narrowing it down and getting you to the right team to make your interview process as smooth as possible. So super, super important that I can understand your previous roles, your technology used, so I can better match you to a team. If you don't have any work experience, go ahead and list any relevant school projects that you're working on with any relevant skill sets. So, and of course, you can always include courses that you are enrolled in and will be taking that are relevant as well. After your work experience, this won't apply for everybody, but if you have any published research, include that 100%. That's something we definitely look for at NVIDIA. We have a whole research intern team and program, so we definitely look for that. If you are going into that area, that won't apply for everybody. Not everybody will have published research. And then after that, include your student orgs and all your soft skills that you wanted to include. So at NVIDIA, student orgs are something we definitely look for. So include them on your resume. We're looking for them. And then I wanted to just touch on a quick note about ATS's tracking systems. I know that students have a lot of anxiety about, well, what works best in your tracking system? Am I going to get screened out? And students have a lot of anxiety about that. I do want to say that that software is not there to screen you out whatsoever. That's not what that software was created for. It's not what it's used for. It's really a tool to make recruiters' lives a lot easier, to make sure that we get all the information from your resume into a database so we can track you. It's not working against you. What I will say is that I do recommend submitting your resume as a PDF if you can. And I would say don't spend a ton of time on crazy designs. I think it's nice sometimes that you put in some extra effort, but at the end of the day, if it does go through our tracking system, we're not going to actually see the PDF anyways. So it's just not a make it or break it. And I don't think you need to spend a lot of time on that. We're just going to see all of the information pulled from it within our database. And then moving on to the application process. So when you are ready to apply for roles or looking through roles on our website, I really recommend only applying for relevant roles. I don't recommend applying for 10 different roles with all different skill sets in different areas. Definitely look at the skill sets. Are they relevant? Do you have what they're looking for? I kind of do a 50% rule. If you have 50% of what they're looking for, I think that you can go ahead and apply for that role. And on that note, in that application process, make sure that you're checking your junk folder to make sure that you are receiving our emails. and check your voicemail. Is your voicemail full? I actually can't tell you how many times that actually happens when we're trying to get a hold of a candidate for an interview. And also, do you have a voice recording? If not, make one. The same thing happens where we think sometimes we're calling the right number and leaving messages at the right number. But since they don't have a voicemail, it could be the wrong number. And that has been the case. Sometimes people have had their wrong number on their resume before, and we were leaving messages at the wrong number. But if you would have had a voicemail, we would have been able to tell it wasn't your voicemail or it was your voicemail. So just a really simple, great tip that everybody should be doing. And then moving on to the interview process and just some tips there. So once you receive an interview request, here's how I recommend that you prepare for the interview. And the interview process as well. So I'll go over the interview process first. So for interns, the interview process is 2 rounds. It usually includes 1 technical question within each interview. And then that second interview will be a WebEx. And for NCGs, new college grad roles, they will typically have 3 rounds of interviews. First 2 will be phone screens, and then the last one will be a panel interview with the team with more technical questions. So at NVIDIA, it usually takes about 2 weeks to schedule the first interview with the team once the manager has determined your resume to be a match. From there, it really could take up to 3 weeks to get through interviews. And it really just boils down to the scheduling that takes the most time, with connecting with you, the candidate, and with the hiring manager. I always like to remind students and candidates that are interviewing that it's important to remember that managers have a full-time job. Engineers have a full-time role outside of interviewing and recruiting for their team. So although it is my full-time role, it is not an engineer's full-time role to recruit. So it's just a good piece of information to remember, and that's kind of why it takes so long sometimes, because things come up on both ends for the candidate and the manager. Sometimes we need to reschedule, sometimes it's hard to connect with them, but know that the recruiter is always doing their best to get you that final answer. Let's see here. And on that note, if you have to reschedule, I've also gotten a lot of questions about this before. That's totally okay. We just ask that you let us know as soon as you know that you need to reschedule. And you don't have to stress out about it. Just let us know, hey, something came up. Whether you don't even have to let us know what happened. If you just want to let us know that you need to reschedule. But also, while you are doing that, give a few days and times that would work for you for the reschedule. It just saves an extra step, so the recruiter doesn't have to come back and ask for your availability. She or he can go straight to the hiring manager and just get you rescheduled super quickly. And just be honest with the team. We understand things come up. Sometimes our teams need to reschedule because things come up as well. So we totally understand that. Next, lean on your recruiter for help. When you are in that interview process, first thing is first, you should always have the job description. So if you do not have the job description, make sure to ask your recruiter for one. If they, for some reason, don't have one, ask them for a sample one that was used previously for that team. Ask for the names of the interviewers, as well, so that you can better prepare for the interview. So once you have that job description, look at the technical skill sets and make sure you have examples for them all. Examples are key in interviews. Even have examples for the skill sets that maybe you don't have experience with yet. So let's just say, I don't have any hands-on experience with Python, but I am working on a project right now that is utilizing this skill set for this outcome. Or I don't have any experience in that yet, but I am right now in the middle of taking classes, or I will be taking these classes next fall to help with that experience gap. That is a really, really great way to show up prepared for an interview, having responses to skill sets that you don't have yet. And it's a great way to stand out as well. Research the team if you can. So like I said, ask for all of the names of your interviewers, look them up on LinkedIn and Google. You just never know what kind of personal or location or what kind of personal connection you could have with them, and you could see that on LinkedIn. I bring up Google and specifically at NVIDIA because they might have research published. We have a ton of amazing engineers that are doing crazy work all over the world. So you just never know what kind of information about NVIDIA and their work and their team that you can find on Google. And I also always recommend to just research some industry trends about NVIDIA, and kind of find your little piece to why you want to work at NVIDIA or who NVIDIA is to you. You know, I'm interested in NVIDIA because of their robotics work or their machine learning work or their AI work. I don't think that you need to know everything about NVIDIA. We're so large that would be really hard to do coming into an interview, but definitely have something that connects you to NVIDIA and that you understand about NVIDIA. Definitely highlight any student orgs that you're involved in. So especially at NVIDIA, like I said earlier, we look for those student orgs. So go ahead and talk about them and prepare how you're going to talk through them during your interview beforehand. This tip while you're preparing for your interview, very, very, very important, especially at NVIDIA. I kind of just talked about it, but have your why down. So what I mean by that is, why NVIDIA? Why are you in front of me right now? You know, why do you want to work here, and why is it important to you? I think it's really important to remember that specifically at NVIDIA, we really look for people who are excited about our technology and want to make a difference in the world. So make it personal, make it you. Why would you make a good impact, make an impact at NVIDIA? And even if you're not directly asked about this, it's such a great little nugget of information to have, say at the end of the interview, when at the interview asks, you know, is there anything else you want to tell me or want to let me know? This is such powerful information to leave your interview on, and makes you stand out from the crowd if you have this and pull it out. Another tip that I always recommend for any interview would be to have questions ready for the team. So I always recommend having 3 to 5 questions ready to ask at the end of the interview, not because you need to ask all 3 to 5, but just because naturally in the interview process, your questions are going to get answered. So think about your questions, ask insightful questions. We love when candidates are genuinely interested in knowing more about specific roles in life at NVIDIA. So some questions that you could ask are, what types of projects would I be working on? You know, what does a successful intern look like on your team? What does the culture look like? How will I be supported in a virtual environment? You can ask about technology, about a specific project. You can really ask about anything, but definitely never leave an interview without asking at least one question. And then I definitely understand that the interview process is so stressful for everybody. It really is. It doesn't get easier. It's a stressful thing. So if you happen to get stuck on a question or get nervous or overwhelmed, just try to remember to not rush it. It's smart for you to just take your time, think about your answer, and ask for clarification if needed. We would rather you think carefully about your answer than rush and kind of stumble. And as well, ask if you can come back to the question if you're really struggling on it. That is just a very easy way to navigate around it and keep moving forward with your interview. This last piece of advice is probably my biggest piece of advice, and maybe the most underrated piece of advice. It would be to practice. Practice really does make perfect in interviewing world. I recommend that you practice out loud. You talk about your projects out loud, your examples out loud. You go through any technical questions out loud. say it all out loud. And I even recommend that you record yourself, watch it back. It's such an easy way for you to catch anything that maybe you want to steer away from. Maybe you watch it back and you think, I just really didn't explain that well, or I feel like I was rambling on about that project and it didn't really make sense. It's such a great way to see anything that you want to fix before going into the interview. You definitely don't want to leave the interview having any regrets, wishing that you would have prepared more or practiced more. I think that's one of the biggest downfalls for anybody interviewing for an internship role or a new college grad role. Especially from hiring managers, we get a lot of feedback that they had no idea who NVIDIA was, they didn't come prepared, and you might know all of the answers to the question, but if you get overwhelmed and you start to panic, that could be the end of your interview. And just practicing could save you, and you could have a better experience. So don't let that happen to you. Practicing is such an easy thing to do. And remember to smile, remember to be yourself and show your character. At NVIDIA, we are not looking for you to fit into a specific puzzle piece. We are looking for people that are going to challenge our thinking. They're going to speak up. They're going to contribute to our culture. That's really how we've gotten to where we are today. So we're not really looking for the culture fit. We're looking for value add to our culture and keep improving our culture. So practice, practice, practice again. But those are kind of like my fast, furious tips for the interview process, resume tips, how to best prepare for an interview, which I think is, if you take anything away, it's prepare for every interview you go on. Definitely, that would be my biggest advice. So I am happy to take any questions from you, from anybody that is attending right now. I can't see the questions, McKenna, so if there are any, let me know.
Yeah, no, I can read questions out to you. We have 5 so far, so if anybody would like to contribute their question, they can go ahead. But we can start on questions right now if you'd like.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Okay, so our first question is, what if I don't really have any work experience to put on LinkedIn?
Yeah, definitely. So I would recommend putting, if you're working on any projects right now or any upcoming projects, to put that on your LinkedIn. Any courses that you are taking that are relevant to the engineering world, go ahead and put that on your LinkedIn, even if you don't have that work experience right now.
Okay, awesome. All right, next question is, what's the timeline for applying to internships? When is it considered too late?
We normally don't stop hiring for summer internships till the end of like spring semester. So we definitely show up to all of those spring and winter career fairs, and we're normally not done recruiting until after all of those end. So I would probably say, if you're creeping into May, you're probably too late. But anytime before that for summer, you're okay.
Okay, perfect. Someone asked, can you please repeat the process of the grad interview?
New college grad interview? Yeah, so it's 3 rounds. The first 2 will be a phone screen, and then the last one will be a panel interview using WebEx. Usually you would come on site for your last interview and meet the team, but unfortunately we're in this virtual environment, so you would do a panel with the team. It's usually 3 to 4 members of the team.
Okay. Next question is, do you have any tips for job and internship searching?
Yeah, I would definitely utilize LinkedIn a lot. A lot of university recruiters push out information. So that would probably be my biggest piece of advice, is to follow those information holders, find them at the company, search for them, and follow those companies, so you're getting their updates. And then we always keep our jobs updated on Workday, and that's how you will have to apply to get your application process started. So it's not fun searching for a job, I know, but you do have to do research. You have to understand the company, understand if it's a good fit for you. So you do have to do a lot of research.
Okay. Next question is, can we use assignments from class as projects, or do you not consider them projects?
No, we definitely consider those projects. I would go ahead and put them on your resume or your LinkedIn. I would definitely highlight what skill sets you look for. So one of the better ones I've seen is they described their project in 3 to 5 sentences, and they highlighted what technical skill sets they used for it. So I think it was like a C++ and a Python, and they highlighted that at the top. Like, that is gold. That's great information for us.
Okay. We're just going through all of these. That's awesome. Okay. Because the chat is disabled, how can we connect with you after this?
Yeah, so if I hope that you had access to the link that I sent in the chat, I can go ahead and resend that link. But if you fill out your information and drop me your resume, I'm actually going to be reaching out to you directly. So you will have my contact information.
I can resend that in chat
Perfect.
Really quick.
Thank you. Let me know if anyone is having trouble with the link. I want to make sure that it's working for you all and I get all of your information.
Okay, perfect. Next question is, what is company and offer deadlines from the forum ask for?
Sorry, I don't know if I understood that question.
I'm not entirely sure if I did either.
Could you reread it? Sorry.
Yeah, it's what is, quote, companies and offer deadlines from the forum ask for?
Oh, on the form. If you have any offer deadlines that are pending right now, it's good for us to know so that we can actively push your resume through and let a manager know that you have offer deadlines if they're interested in your resume. So it's for us to know if we need to speed up your interview process because you have pending deadlines. It's not, you don't have to fill it out. But that's something that is probably a really great tip. If you have offer deadlines, let your recruiter know. It's not going to hurt your chances. It's not going to better your chances. You still have to go through the interview process. But if a manager is interested in your resume, we would love the opportunity for them to have an interview for you. So we'll work harder to get you in as soon as we can if we know that you have those deadlines.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right, next question is, where can I find university recruiters on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I would just search them. I would search a company and I would search university recruiting.
Simple and straightforward.
Yeah.
What does the process of entering the immersion program look like?
The process of entering it, or I think that they mean the application process, maybe.
Potentially, yeah.
So the application process is similar to the intern process. You have to start your application on Workday. And then after that, you actually receive the second part of your application where you receive a questionnaire and a request for a letter of recommendation from a previous teacher or current professor or a previous colleague or something of that sort, and an essay question as well. So since you don't have any work experience, we are using the supplemental, essay or letter of recommendation in replace of your work experience for the immersion program.
Awesome! Wow. Yeah, not a lot of companies offer such a great opportunity. That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
The next question is, do you have any advice for what to say at the end of the interview? It has been very awkward for me, especially during Zoom calls.
Yeah, so, if it gets awkward, I would just say, thank you so much for your time. It has been great getting to know you, and thank you for letting me ask these questions. Is there a time that I should expect to follow up with you? You could also ask, what are the next steps in the interview process, and start the conversation again that way. And you can ask about timeline. If you're feeling like you need to share more information about your interview, I would definitely go back to one of the tips earlier in the day. If you hadn't already shared your why about NVIDIA, or even if you had, you share, it's thank you so much. As I said earlier, I'm super excited about this opportunity. I think I would make an impact in this way on this team. This is why I want to work here. So thank you for the opportunity and interviewing me. So there's a few different ways that you can close it out. But definitely you can wrap it up by just saying, thank you. What are next steps? When should I be expecting a follow-up? Let me know if you need anything from me. You can definitely ask for their email to follow up with. Those are a few different ways that you can.
Okay. Next question is, where would robotics opportunities fit under the areas provided on the Google Forms? In parentheses, system, software, physical design, etc.
You can go ahead and click other and just go ahead and put in robotics, because robotics fit into a few of those. So if you just put other and put robotics, we can go ahead and get your resume to the right team.
Okay. Next question is, how would your advice change for someone who is a senior/recent grad instead of a first or second year?
My advice I'm sorry, I don't know what specifically you're looking for advice for.
Yeah, I don't see anything specifically. It just says, how would your advice change? Maybe if you could, the person who submitted that question, clarify in a follow-up.
Yeah, if you just have like a specific area that you are looking for other advice on.
Okay, well, in the meantime, we can move on to the next question. If you have work experience that isn't related to the internship you're applying for, should you still include it on your resume?
If it's the only experience you have, I say include it. If you have other experience that is more relevant, I say you could probably leave it on. I think I'm assuming, like maybe a high school job where maybe you were a cashier or something. I would say it's okay to leave that on if you have other relevant experience. If not, I say go ahead and leave it on. That's okay.
Okay. Next question is, all of my experience is in computational astrophysics. How would I go about transitioning into tech?
Well, I don't know what year you are, but I would assume that you're maybe a second or third year. I would say I would start to take classes that you can gain those technical skills and experience in, so that you can start applying to those roles and you have a background for it.
Okay. Next question is, are there any content creation opportunities? Possible internships?
Content creation as in like marketing, social media, blogs? Like,
I don't know.
If so, we definitely have those internship opportunities available. We don't just have engineering roles open. We do have HR roles, marketing roles, product marketing roles, data science. We do have those roles open.
Okay. Is high school experience, projects, or skills practice still relevant to use on a job resume? For example, I have made games and assets in my high school game design class in both groups and on my own. And if it is still relevant, is it worth noting?
I think it would be relevant up to maybe your senior year. So I would say go ahead and include it up until your senior year.
Okay. And the last question that we currently have queued up, what do people who enter the immersion program do? What does it look like?
Yeah, so the immersion program, there's two different tracks. There's the tech and engineering side, and then the non-tech side. So the marketing, the HR, all of that stuff. But basically, you come in, you have assigned teams, assigned mentors, and the whole goal is that you are gaining all of this new experience and technical skills. So there is a whole program that is set up specifically for you, just like there is for our internship program. This one's just specifically for you. It's only open for first and second year students. So you are going to be with similar students that have similar skill sets, similar experience levels, all of that. But it's basically just a mini internship program with a lot more guidance and a lot more learning and development focused. As an intern, you are thrown into a team with a lot of support, but you are working on real projects that could get pitched to our CEO tomorrow. So it's a little bit different. The immersion program is more of an apprentice program because you're gaining skills and experience from it so that you can eventually move into our internship program.
Okay, that's it for the question. Oh, now we have another question. Yeah, so just as a side note, please feel free to submit questions in the Q&A box. Keep going for it. Our next question is, what if I have a current side project about a subject a company works on, but is written in a language they don't use? Like a company writes healthcare programs in C, but I did a healthcare side project in Java. Would that still be a valid project?
If it's the only project you have, I definitely would include it, but that does happen to us a lot where, typically we look for, Python, C++, C++, and a lot of students have a lot of Java. And sometimes they aren't a fit for our roles because we just aren't using that language as much. So I would say include it. But if you're starting to find that companies aren't using that language, I would start figuring out how you are going to get experience in that technical area.
Okay. Next question is, there's a couple of positions on the NVIDIA website that are open to bachelor students, master's, and PhD candidates. Do undergrads have a chance? It's really demotivating when being compared to people with so much more experience.
Yeah, you definitely have a chance. We definitely hire undergrads all of the time. Some of our roles do require that you be enrolled in a graduate program, getting your master's, have an MBA, PhD, because they are working on that high level of stuff. So it does require you to be in school a lot longer and have more experience, but there are roles available that don't require that. And if it's not a requirement, I say go ahead and apply. We are always hiring students in their undergrad.
Okay, the last question that we currently have up, is Jensen a cool guy?
He's the coolest. He really is the coolest. And every time I'm on any meeting with him or anything, he's just one of those guys that you can't help but like, and because he cares about you, and he'll talk straight with you, straight to you. Nothing is a stupid question. Everybody's opinion matters, and he cares about his employees. It's a very much employees first culture at NVIDIA. And you can tell. So it feels good to be a part of that. He makes you proud to work at NVIDIA. And it's cool to be a part of a company that has the longest reigning, founder, CEO in Silicon Valley. So he is as cool as he looks, definitely. And he has a ton of cool leather jackets that he would love to talk to you about anytime.
Oh. Our next question is, would you recommend taking some business classes along with engineering classes in case we want to eventually go into a manager or higher level position?
I don't think that's necessary. I think if you're interested in it, I don't see anything wrong with it. I think that management is a lot different than a students may think it is. You know, usually when you are a manager, you are spending the majority of your time managing your team. So you're managing people, personalities, you're managing the overall being of your team. And I think a lot of people, when they think of manager, they just kind of think of the boss and like in charge of the project. But there's a lot more that comes with management and the people skills inside of it. So I think 50% of being a manager is having those people skills. It's kind of a learning experience. And also NVIDIA, if you are ready to take that leap down the road in your career, there's a lot of guidance, a lot of support for you. And a lot of the larger tech companies will have that guidance and support for you when you do want to transfer into management.
Okay, that looks like all the questions that we have at this second, but I've been proven wrong. Now, every time I've said that, with more popping up.
Yeah, those were great. So were you able to repost that link into the chat for everybody? Awesome, thank you so much.
Yeah, and it's posted directly under that question. So if you guys look for it, you should be able to see it. Yeah, and if you'd like, when we send out the link to everybody with the YouTube video, we can include that form as well in there.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Awesome.
This one isn't really a question, but someone said thank you.
No problem. I will be connecting with you all. Anybody that did submit their information, you'll be hearing from me. You'll have my email address. Again, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm always sharing so much information that is directed specifically towards you. I'm always sharing roles, where I'm going to be, any events coming up. So I'll also send you all the registration to Inclusion Day, which is just so cool. It's our first ever Inclusion Day. It's a really great opportunity for you to learn more about NVIDIA, meet some really awesome leaders and engineers, meet some new college grads that have been in your position before, and they're now a new college grad with our company. They've been through our internship program, and you'll also have the opportunity to ask recruiters any questions. So come learn about NVIDIA, come be a part of it, and come land a job with us. So we're very much looking to recruit from that event.
Okay, well, it looks like we have two final questions and then we can wrap it up. The first question is, can you get into those higher level jobs without a PhD or master's if you eventually work on an area for a long time?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And within NVIDIA, I think one of the super cool things is that, and you've heard me say this probably a million times, but there's so many different areas for you to go into. So there's a lot of movement within NVIDIA because we are a very transparent company. So you have the opportunity to see what that team's doing, see what that team's doing, ask questions. And so that tends to a lot of people jumping around from teams to learn different areas and skill sets. So once you're with NVIDIA, it doesn't mean you need to stay with that team on that role forever. You actually have all of the opportunity in the world to move around NVIDIA. It's actually what most of our senior leaders did to get where they are now. And that's one of my favorite things about NVIDIA is that all of the teams and managers are super supportive about it because they know that you're learning different areas of the business and it's going to better the company and you.
Okay, next question. When is the deadline to submit your resume via the link in chat? I haven't updated my resume in a while.
There's no deadline. I was going to send out the email to you guys by next Monday. So I guess that would be the deadline because I'm going to go ahead and go through that Google form by Monday. So okay, that can be the deadline.
Oh, we had a couple more trickle in. Do you have any UI/UX positions available or any teams at NVIDIA that are looking for UI/UX expertise?
Yep, I actually just sent a resume over to the team yesterday. So yes, we do.
Okay. And then one last comment, not so much a question, but it says, you just made NVIDIA sound even more cool. Thank you so much.
No problem. It really is that cool. I love my job. I'm very happy I get to be surrounded by just incredible people. I really do believe that we work with some of the smartest people in the Bay Area and around the world. And we're very lucky to do so. So I love my job. I'm glad that it sounds as cool as it feels.
Okay. And just before we wrap up, someone asked, where can we find your LinkedIn?
Yeah, so if you just search Lexy Aldape, the same as my Zoom name, you should be able to find me and add me.
Okay. Oh, one more. All right, this will be the last question.
No problem.
Is NVIDIA looking for any marketing positions, or are any companies that you're familiar with?
I don't know about other companies. I'm sure they are, but we are hiring in our marketing for internship roles.
Okay, perfect. All right, so then I will really quick just wrap this up.
Yeah.
A big thank you to you, Lexy, for hosting today's event, and thank all of you guys for showing up. Just so that all of the students know who are here, once you log out of this webinar, a survey will pop up. So if you can fill that out, that would be awesome. It's really there to make sure that our events can improve as much as possible and be as effective to students and UCSC Banana Slugs. And just so that all of you guys know, tomorrow is our CC Fair. On Thursday, we have a grad fair workshop, and next week is our graduate and professional school fair if you're interested in pursuing an even higher level of education. And you can find out more about our events on our website or on Handshake. So yeah, thank you all again for coming, and have a great Tuesday and rest of your week too.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks so much, McKenna.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.